My phone got full again. Anyway, I made some space. I have a little more time. It's getting quite long now as well, so I'm trying to be short with my point here. So, where was I? Talking with Cherry Divband later. She gave me a very nice perspective that I just remembered now. When it comes to connecting to YouTube and talking here, is this? She said that she feels that this woman has had, or like she get the download or whatever, talking to the guides, that this woman has had quite a lot of birth trauma in her previous lives, and we have agreed between us that I'll be there for her to, for her first birth, to help her, and my main reason there was not to avoid the section or avoid the medical intervention. That my number one reason why I was in that room was just for my energy, without doing anything, just me being in that room without doing anything or saying anything, was just, she just needed my energy to be there, and that was all. So me being a doula was just an excuse how to be in there, basically. It wasn't her words, but basically what I gathered from it. And later on, she actually, now the woman who gave birth and the partner as well, they both were very grateful that I was there, and it was very helpful for them. They felt it was very helpful because, to settle their anxieties and their nerves and to be more, relaxed and calm in this kind of hospital environment. So, yeah, so my, reflections after this is that it's not always what you do, especially me being a mental projector now that I'm learning. That was more than a year and a half ago. So I didn't know about me being a mental projector, but now that I'm learning about me being a mental projector as well, I'm learning how often mental projector's job is just to be energetically in different situations, like place myself here, place myself there, and doesn't really matter what I'm saying or am I performing with something, or so it's just important the energy that I bring into the situation or into the environment. So that brings me back to how it's connected to why I'm doing this YouTube channel. It's the FewQ Speak, right? So that's why I decided that I'm just going to come here and talk whatever comes to my mind. Maybe I have some ideas during the day that I want to talk about, but it's not going to be teaching about, birth-related issues, not teaching about nutrition per se, unless something comes up and I want to talk about something. I'm not here to teach about any medical things or whatever things I might have an experience with, unless it comes up, because the whole idea here for me is just spend my time here on the screen. Whoever wants to listen, whoever likes to just listen to my voice, whatever, washing dishes or walking their dog, then this is the connection, and this is why I'm here. And even if it's one person or 0 people, because I'll tell you why 0 people is also okay. If literally 0 people will listen to this video ever, that'll be also fine, because one of my reasons is just to speak, whatever, just share my energy and be here on the screen and connect. If somebody wants to connect with my energy, even regardless what am I saying. Am I saying something? I'm not trying to convince people or win people over with this or that. No, just speak whatever comes. But also, another reason why I'm doing this. I think I already mentioned this as well earlier, but just to remind and bring here why 0 viewers would be also fine is just for me to express myself and just have what's here to come out. Not like to specifically like word vomit here, not like that, but just to process. Because what I'm also learning about human design, I keep talking about human design. I did not plan to talk about so much about human design, but somehow it's on my mind. With human design, mental projector is, I think, the only type in human design that has external kind of decision making process. So the way mental projectors make decisions, we need to soundboard. And I have used it unconsciously, not knowing that's a mental projector thing. But I've been using this, somehow I figured it out myself already. That for me to make decisions, I have to talk, not only think things through or write things through, I have to actually talk to another person outside of me. So all the other human design types, there might be maybe some, but I don't think there's any other one. I might be wrong now. I don't think there's another type other than mental projectors that have this external decision making process. And I'm still learning about it. It's quite complex and complicated and not very well understood, and I'm still trying to figure this out. But as I understand now, the big part of it is soundboarding, which is, yes, talking things through with another person. So this is my little practice then. To soundboard and just to be here for the energy, the frequency. And then what am I talking about? That's more secondary, I suppose. My secondary reason to be here. The first reason is here for energy. Anyway, I rambled on now much longer than I planned. And it's 1 o'clock at night. Definitely time to go to bed now. So night, or have a good day wherever you are, what time you're watching this. And I'll be here tomorrow. Hope you'll be here tomorrow too. Bye. Hey. Here's midnight again, of course. It seems to be a pattern now. My very typical pattern. Doing everything in the nighttime when the world is asleep. Well, the world around me. It's not nighttime everywhere. I was wondering how long can I keep it from slipping into the around midnight chat. I should call it a midnight chat. It's not even midnight anymore. It's actually the next day. I've done everything at night. All the studying in school. I wouldn't even open any books until 9 or 10 o'clock. And that's why I actually mostly worked night shifts as a nurse as well, because it just suited me better. I was like, when I started to work as a nurse in a day, it was like this. I wake up in the morning, I feel like I'm hit by a bus. I'm so tired. I drag myself literally through the pain of being so tired to work. It takes me so long to actually wake up. So I drag myself throughout the morning. Then I go for lunch. And then for the afternoon, I'm awake enough now. I'm awake. But now I'm tired from all the work I've done. So then I was just tired all the time. So I'm like, I'm just going to do nights. More money. Not necessarily easier, quieter. It can be quieter in a way that there's less staff around, less doctors, less whoever might pop in. So many different professionals who pop in, have questions, family, students. The place is busy, but nighttime work-wise it can be still busy because you have more patients to mind, and people are sick, the same sick day or night. They don't ask what time is it before they get sick. But yeah, it was more calm usually from that perspective, because you don't have 100 million people buzzing around you. So I enjoy that more. So yeah, until it started to press on my health, which is finally started to have my thyroid flagging up. And I've always had this kind of curious mind. There's like when the doctor said, oh, just go for further investigations, but yeah, it looks like hypothyroidism. And I already knew what's the solution in mainstream medicine is, once it's bad enough, you just start taking the replacement hormones. It's not curing anything, it's just replacing the hormones that your body's not producing. And I was like, no, I'm not on for that. So as with everything in my life, I went to dig deep and actually made the change as well. One of the big, I didn't even plan to talk about it at all. Well, I didn't plan to talk much about it at all, but this completely came from left field. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about it. But yeah, the thyroid started to become a little bit of a problem, and the tiredness and being cold and sluggish and all this. And at this point, I had worked, I'd say, probably 8 years already as a nurse, more or less. Night shifts mostly all the time. 7, 8 years in maybe. Then the big light bulb moment was when I made a very clear connection with being awake at night, plus the blue lights, the blue hue lights. Obviously, it's not like it's blue, but who doesn't know what blue lights mean? By this I mean the tone of the lights in the night, and especially in the hospital. At home, maybe you have kind of softer light bulbs. In the hospital, it's all like in your face. Well, ward, you turn it down, but then when you need to do something, you still have to put the lights on. So it was very hard, but I did change it. I started to do day shifts. It was a very, very big decision for me, because it was quite scary after being in my comfort zone with night shifts. And then now suddenly I have to manage with all these teams. I'm not like I'm more one-on-one person, and there's plenty to manage at night, so I'm just like to be left alone and I do my work and suddenly find myself in day shifts. Anyway, that was a learning curve, and my thyroid is fine. Never went on medication, never went to get official diagnosis, and even the blood work, whatever was flagging in there, just stabilized after a while. And then of course other like food and other lifestyle choices as well. Anyway, not thyroid is not what I wanted to get into today. Maybe I'll do a video about thyroid health one day, because I have a good story to share and a lot of knowledge in a way that I've done my digging. That was a long time ago. I would have to refresh my memory about some details. But what I was just actually thinking today, going about with my day, I was like, oh, what will I talk about today? And I was just chatting on the phone with a friend of mine who's a doula, and we're talking about birth, and I trained to become a doula with her a couple of years ago, 3.5 years ago, I think, or 2.5. I would want to say 3. Anyway, I haven't been actively working recently. I think I went for my last birth about a year ago. So I just dipped my toe into it for a bit. We'll see will I go back or not at the moment. I have passed it, as I said in the other video. That's so much going on in my life. I can't imagine being on call for a birth at the moment. So, talking to her just reminded me about one birth I attended last summer. That I'm not going to get into the birth story or anything, that's not important. But what I remembered about that birth and about talking, reflecting on that birth later, and how is it connecting my videos here that I'm doing now, is this. So I'm only still in my first week, so I'm still reflecting in my head, even why am I doing this, and my first video was all about why am I doing these videos now daily for 111 days. But today brought up this memory of that birth, and then the connection to why am I here is this. I'll tell you first a little bit about the birth and then why I'm here. So I went to this birth, and it was classical, what we call it, the snowball effect that I've known in theory so well. Now, what I see often in medicine, and what I know in theory so well in a birthing world as well, but I haven't seen it so clearly unfolded in front of me, because as a nurse, I don't see too many births. I'm not a midwife. I've been working in postnatal wards just after the babies are born, but not at the births. So I'd seen this in my head, for many people now, they recognize this classical snowball effect, how one intervention, that's a tiny little, it's nothing, it's only breaking your waters, it's nothing, they start with some little intervention that brings in on the next intervention. It's like, since we already did this, now you're kind of on the clock. We did this intervention, and now we're like a little bit worried about it, and we want to do this next thing, and then they do the next thing, and they're gonna pressure this mother into more things, and next thing you have epidural going, and then they're like, now we can do all of those other painful things, because since you already have an epidural, so it doesn't matter anymore, we can keep poking and doing. Now, I know it sounds kind of very cynical. I'll maybe talk about birth another time, but this is classical snowball effect that is like starts with induction, then maybe breaking the waters, and then maybe oxytocin trip, and then the contractions might get too painful, and then mom might very typically usually ends up having epidural, even though maybe they didn't plan to have an epidural to begin with. And then epidural brings on their own complications, and maybe the baby doesn't like it, and then the mother is in distress and baby is in distress, and then the whole shebang ends up with a C-section. It's a very common scenario. But if you take a step back, and if you would have just given this mother time, not always, but not always the case, but very often what the mother needed was more time, not induction. Anyway, who doesn't know the topic well might think that I'm gone crazy here. But anyway, so I knew this kind of snowball effect, how medical intervention causes more medical intervention, and then in the end there's a emergency section, which is not even emergency in this case. To me, it was quite clear to me that I don't want to be too controversial, but very conveniently this baby C-section happened just at the end of the shift when everybody was ready to go home and the consultant wanted to go home and blah, 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 blah. And I know, I've been a nurse as well, so I know you want to finish all your jobs for the night shift, because it's nice to come to work when all your jobs are finished, because next time you're going to be the night shift nurse or midwife, whatever. So anyway, as I knew this in theory, it all unfolded in front of me, and I felt quite powerless to this, and I was quite upset that I wasn't able to stop it. And I was even on the call for my support, for my friend who is very experienced, and do you think I can do anything here to help her to avoid this section? I was early, hours before, they even came with the section story, but I could already see where things are headed. And my experienced friend saw the same and thought that I probably can't do much. She gave me some ideas, but she said, just to start supporting the woman and get her mind ready, that she can accept the section and she can, be more calm going in for it and all this. So after this, I was pretty disempowered. I was like, what am I even doing here? I haven't... well, as a doula, I'm not the one. I can't stand up and say oh no, my client is not having this, or no, she doesn't want to have that. I can support them to advocate for themselves, my client or the partner. And of course I can say a few things here and there as well, but I can't literally just stand up and put my foot down. Because then I'll be kicked out and she'll be there without a doula. Unfortunately, and I won't be welcomed back too well. And it's not my place as well, I can support the woman to stand up for herself, and I can help her with, things like, oh, can we have 5 minutes here so they can think about it, little things I can insert, but basically I can't stand up and stop medical intervention. So I was feeling very depleted after this birth. Well, I was very happy. Everything was fine in the end, and the baby was fine, and the mother was happy, and the father was happy. And even though I felt it was unnecessary, the whole charade was the word I was looking for. But anyway, not to get too much into this very controversial story for some people. I'll talk about it maybe another time. Maybe I'll sometime open a special channel for doula related, pregnancy, birth related topics still. Even though I'm not currently working as a doula, it's still something I'm passionate about, and in the future when my family situation is more stable, I might go back into it. But my point here after all this was, little after I had this one-on-one kind of session with this girl, Cherry Divband. I link her as well, who's interested. She's really, I like her a lot. I followed her on YouTube for many years. And I've had few one-on-one sessions with her as well, so she's for me, it seems very clear channel. She can get very quick and clear answers to whatever questions. So I've had her channel my own higher self or spirit team, whoever she happened to talk to, my children, my animals. So this is a lot to talk about, but this specific thing I want to talk about, she was explaining the whole birth that I had experienced there as a doula. She explained it like this. She's like, and I believe it because I believe all the woo-woo stuff anyway. So it wasn't a stretch for me to take it on board. So basically we make these contracts with people in our lives, and I completely believe that the babies are born exactly how they're meant to be born. And on one way I was there, and I would have wanted to have her the experience, the mother to have the experience to have a natural birth, and the baby to have much gentler experience than the baby did. But at the same time, I really, really do believe that the baby is being born exactly the hour, the day, the city, the parents, the way they're meant to be born here. If they're meant to be born via C-section, then that's what they're gonna do, and you can bend backwards how much you want. They'll be born by C-section. So of course, we try to help and support the mothers as much as possible. But if the baby is meant to be born on the way, in the car on the way to the hospital, then that's what they'll do. On the other hand, so there's two sides. So spiritually, I'm okay that the baby wanted to be born by section for whatever reason. It gives you a different setup for life. For example, very different birth experience will give you the whole. It's very important the way we are born to this world, and it'll set so many things up for coming years.